All right, so we're going to get started here. This is a timely topic, right? So pivoting skills. The title is pretty poignant and we'll focus on what we're looking for. My name is Rose Fuller. I am the Director of Career Development Services. I know some of you, others I don't know, but welcome, and I'm glad you could join us today. I also have Mary Larkin, our Events and Marketing Coordinator. She's also on, and that's who I was chatting with. She and I have put together all of this materials, and I'm going to show you our flyer later on if you haven't already seen it, of all the rest of the good stuff that we're putting on. Obviously, it's all free to you guys, and we just want to make sure you're utilizing the resources that you've actually paid for. So what we want to talk about today, though, is you may have started off and planned for a career that all of a sudden this coronavirus has halted. So we're talking about the realities of today, right? You've graduated, some of you are graduating, some of you aren't. But this is a really hard time. It's very similar to maybe what some of the 2008 graduates were dealing with is a hard economic time. Jobs that they thought that they were going towards, might not be there anymore. So you want to really think about your dreams and how are they going to change. You may have been focused in one direction and this has changed. So, this is a very, very hard time. It's a hard time for you to adjust to this and to adjust to this on the fly. And I feel for you guys. There's a lot of empathy and compassion I have for you. And so to just not fight it, but just kind of be in it, part of me wants you to feel comfortable mourning what could have been, what your plans were, saying goodbye to some things that maybe aren't going to be right now. You'll see me say a lot in this whole lecture is about the word yet, and I'm going to talk about that a lot more. And maybe you can't go into the area that you want to yet, and yet brings hope and possibility because there's always that option further down the line. But for right now, if your plans have to change because what you wanted to do is no longer hiring, or they're on a freeze, or they're just canceling jobs, period, then let's take a look at what you possibly could do, because a lot of you need to think about paying back bills and your tuition and making sure that you are set up with your basic needs in terms of, can you afford housing or food or whatever you need to be stable? And that's really important, okay? Another piece I want to really emphasize is your support system. Make sure that you've got that set up so that you have people around you that are positive, people around you that are helping you, that your coping skills are healthy, that you're doing things to help your self-care, you're getting outside, you're eating good, and you're making sure that those pieces are really positive in your life, because the transition itself is difficult. And so if everything else can be healthy and positive, that will make the transition that much easier. Okay. I don't see, let's see, I just want to note that I'm not seeing the questions when they come in. Okay. Well, we're going to have to hold questions to the end because I can't see them when they're coming in. I'm just trying to kind of go through this, otherwise I'm going to have to stop everything. So we'll continue to go through that, the questions at the end. All right. Mary, there's a Bobby on the list, so I'm going to admit him right now. Welcome, Bobby. Okay. So now we're kind of talking about this new world, right? This new world of the coronavirus. And we're thinking about, like, how does that come together? How does that work for us? Where am I going to be in this whole scene? So you definitely want to think about how you're adapting, because the world's adapting and you need to pay attention to that and jump into that. So what will you take from this? What will this lead to for you? How will you come out of this on the other side? Is this a setback or is this an opportunity for you? So that's something you really want to sit and think and sit with and really decide, how am I going to take this time frame? This isn't fair. This isn't exciting. This isn't what I wanted as I was graduating or about to graduate. But this is what the cards are that I've dealt with. But what can I do with this? How can I be positive and move forward with this? So really think about that, because that can impact some of the changes and the choices and the transition that you decide. Okay, so one of the biggest things that you can do is practice your problem solving skills, right? Nobody's got a magical list of answers for how to deal with all of this. Everybody's figuring it out along the way, and things are changing drastically every single day, and we need to be able to flip and adapt to whatever's going on. But the problem solving skills are gigantic. So this is the point where you can redefine what success means to you, right? Your path ahead will likely look different than what it was expected. So consider some alternate plans and proactively work towards creating those multiple paths and those alternate plans. And we'll talk a little bit about how you can make that happen. So my suggestion is to engage in alternate skill sets, right? So I have been on several webinars with some of the biggest leaders around jobs, employment, careers, in the past 3 weeks. I have been actively talking to our local employers, asking them what's going on. And I've also been definitely resourcing all of our national associations and finding out what's happening locally and nationally. And over and over and over again, some of the things that I'm hearing is that candidates need to be really flexible and really adaptable and super creative. Those are some of the top things that are coming out over and over and over again from recruiters and employers, saying, if you can find a way to show us how you are like this, we want you, because this is what they need right now. People who can exemplify these 3 critical skills. They're not usually the top of the skill set of what employers want, but this is what they want right now. Excuse me. So what I also recommend is that you think about the next couple of alternate skill sets, and that would be focus and perseverance. Those are really important. So think about targeting the industries and the companies that are growing. So you want to create that target list of who in the area is hiring. How can I focus on them and not sit around and worry about who's not hiring, but really shift that mindset into who is doing the hiring and how I can fit in. The next area that I really want to focus on is being politely persistent, very proactive, and empathetic. I can't tell you how many different times I've heard from the recruiter standpoint, please be empathetic during that interview process, because you don't really know what's going on with that employer's life. Maybe their family members are sick with the COVID-19. Maybe they're just trying to figure it all out themselves and they've got kids at home or who knows what. So being empathetic to everybody's needs, because we're all just in this together and we're all people too. And then finally, collaboration and preparation. I can't tell you, even in our own FGCU offices and departments, how much we've collaborated and been pulled together as a team, in that it's that bonding element of when in crisis, we're going to pull together. So being able to think about ways to be more collaborative and prepared is going to really pull you through this entire crisis. And being able to articulate that later on in an interview will help you even more. So bottom line though, is you need to crush the basics, right? So you've got extra time, you might have extra space, you're not socializing as much, you may want to get away from your family a little bit, but some of the things that you can be focusing on that you have control over is your resume, your interviewing, and your online presence, right? So there should be no excuses. Your resume should be about perfect. And I really think that there's ways that we can help you sell it expertly. So take advantage of our resources in that regards. Interviewing, the number one key to success for interviewing is all about preparation. So being over-prepared would be the right goal, I would say, in this situation. And then your online presence. Obviously, everything is digital. Everything is moving in that direction. If you can't pull all that together, you want it to be on point, professional, and fluid, meaning you're active and you're moving within that space. So those are some really basic things that you have control over that you can master right now. We have resources to help you do that. So the big question is, right? What in the world do I pivot to? So I love this picture, right? Look at all these different train tracks. You can go this way, you can go that way. These are roads, actually, not train tracks, but so many different ways that you can go. It's super important to think that you really have those same opportunities as well. So the first thing we want to talk about is who is actually hiring before you decide where you're going to pivot. And you want to start to stimulate your own ideas of what were my alternate interests, right? I thought I wanted to do plan A, but what is kind of a close plan B or even a plan C? What else was exciting to me? So maybe I was a communication major and I was thinking about doing marketing or public relations. Now there's not a lot of jobs in that specific industry that I wanted to do. So maybe there's an area that you can pivot those skills. Have you ever thought about teaching? You know, do you have an interest in working with children? There's a lot of stability in teaching. They start with a great pay. There's summers off. There's a lot of really good perks to teaching. And sometimes you can even think about it as like, I will try teaching. I don't have to commit to teaching forever. That's not necessarily the route that you have to go, but maybe it's a good sort of in the meantime job until you can decide what you really want, and maybe you'll love it in the end. Lots of different options because of that. So let's talk really about who is hiring, okay? Through all of my extensive research, these are the things that are coming out on top. Large tech companies, of course, that seems really obvious. These are the people that can weather the storms. They have enough money, enough breadth and depth that they can do that. So they might not have been on your radar before, but maybe they will be now because they have a lot of remote work. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, there's tons of companies that have a large reach. It's possible that you can get a job in those kinds of companies. Definitely smaller companies like tax companies, video communication software companies. So right now we're using Zoom. Zoom is hiring. I can't even tell you how many people are hiring. Slack, TurboTax, maybe some things that are not going to go away. Taxes will never go away, people. So if you have a financial lean and you like numbers, maybe that's an area you look into, something that you can have that flexibility. Food delivery services and online grocery giants, Blue Apron, Instacart, Walmart. Some of those are the big companies. Sometimes there's smaller ones. Maybe there's more local ones. Maybe you happen to know people who are doing these kinds of things. So pay attention to those kinds of places and if those are an interest to you. Essential businesses, of course, hospitals, restaurants, drugstores, CVS, Walgreens, Costco, they've all got massive hiring happening. Digital entertainment, Disney Plus, streaming services, video games are blowing through the roof because everybody's ordering them. They all need customer service people. They need salespeople. So online remote jobs are available. Healthcare and healthcare supply companies are some obvious ones. You don't actually have to have a healthcare degree to sell healthcare or to promote healthcare or to communicate with healthcare. There's a lot of different kinds of roles within healthcare that you can transition your skills to. Cleaning and sanitation are hiring, and manufacturing and construction are still hiring. So I got some of my research from this. This is an interesting poll. It was just pulled off on Monday, and it tracked, you see 4,000 companies have given their feedback. So here's an example. Green is hiring, yellow is hiring freeze, and red is layoffs. But as you can see right here, like IT, they got a lot of hiring, a lot less than what they're freezing and a lot less than what they're laying off. And that would be out of what, 475 companies are responding, and over 250 are, almost 300, 275 are hiring. So you can see if you break down the different areas. I will send you this link in a resource page, okay? The resource page, I will give you all these different links, and I will email them to each of you that has joined on to this this webinar today. So don't worry about some of these email links. I will get them to you. Okay, let's dial it down even further. Let's talk about employers in Southwest Florida. This is where I live. This is where I'm going to stay. I might be at home with my parents right now, and I got to figure this out. I want to make some money. And if I'm going to be living at home for a while, why don't we find a way to save some money and pay back our bills and things like that? So places like Scotland. Scotland is a logistics company. They're hot in Fort Myers. They are hiring right now for supply chain, logistics, sales. They have a very team-centric approach. I don't think it's the kind of sales that some people think about. It's not like a car salesman where you're a pushy person and you're trying to swarmy your way into it. It's more about relationship building and communication skills and problem-solving skills. So that's what the kind of sales that we're talking about, this very high-end sales. So if you're interested in that, both Scotland, Lee County, Suncoast, and Equitable Advisors are all having information sessions that I'll talk to you about in a little bit. We talked briefly about being an educator. A lot of online, a lot of technology pieces to this. These educators need some new skill sets in this area. You could possibly bring some of those technological skill sets to the education component. The credit union is hiring, Equitable Advisors is hiring some financial people, Northwestern Mutual, Publix is hiring at all levels from cashier on up. Paychex needs some sales reps. That's to keep things moving. It's online things. Arthrex, we just talked to Arthrex yesterday, last evening, and they said their internship program is canceled, but they are still hiring for full-time people. And then the Collie County Sheriff. This is by no means the entire list. This is just a quick sampling of people that I thought possibly you guys would recognize. There's a whole bunch of other people that have responded to our outreach. Our office has been reaching out to a bunch of different employers that we have relationships with and trying to find out what's going on with them. And these are some of the things that we've gotten. Okay, so you say, fine, I guess I got to pivot. I guess I got to do this. What and how do I do this? How in the world do I pivot? So, of course, it's all about those transferable skills, right? So, the transferable skills is pivoting your skills from one career path to another, right? So the things I am going to show you is on the left are the top skills that have been enforced by employers over the last several years, saying these are the top 6 skills that we want to see in candidates that come in. We got this information from the National Association of Colleges and Employers, NACE, and we have been promoting this over and over and over again, that these are the top things that you should be honing your skills on. These are the core competencies. But I also want you to pay attention to this list on the right: organization, time management, listening, analytical skills, multitasking, creativity, and presentation skills. These are all skills that you may have been developing also in the last internships and jobs that you've been doing. And these are the kind of skills that you can start to highlight and hone. My personal recommendation would be to sort of mix the two. I always like to start in levels of 3. And when you start to talk about what your top skill sets are, you can kind of say a combination of the 3. Okay? So let me show you another way to wrap this up together. One of those would be the elevator pitch, okay? So the elevator pitch is very basic. It's how to bring it all together in a concise way and in very precise way. So the introduction is all about who are you? What's your name? What's your major? What's your purpose? What are you all about? Your second area is what can you do and what can you do well? Pretty easy, basic. This is when we'll start to list off some of those skills. And then the third area is what's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish and what are you trying to do? And then you want to end that with a question. Okay, let me give you an example. So listen to this. Sorry. Hello, my name is Azul, and I'm about to graduate with a bachelor's in communication and hospitality management. I have experience in customer service and communication because of the 3 extensive internships at Marriott that I've accomplished in the past 2 years. I have found I really enjoy helping others, so I'd like to use these skills in an industry that can put me to work in a meaningful way. That's why healthcare is the area I think I can contribute to. Do you have any recommendations on the local healthcare employers? So it's just a very basic start, but you do want to think about that as far as we don't have to negate any of your past experience in what you've been doing. We are just, again, pivoting that and using it in the direction that you're going towards. Okay, so we talked about it already. It's all digital. When you're rebranding yourself with this new elevator pitch, with these new core skills that you've identified, how is this reflected in your online presence? It's very important to make sure that your digital brand is out there because everything now is focused on virtual. So have you Googled yourself lately? Do you know what's out there when it comes up under your name? Are you engaging on social media the right ways? Are you being positive? Are you being productive? Are you being proactive? Those are things to really think about on your media presence. And then adjust those materials if they're not. Make sure that you're getting active, you're liking things, you're sharing things, you're commenting positively on things. That's the best way to go about it. Okay. So, number 3, we are going to get back to basics, right? This is really, really important because when we go back to what do you have in control for you, it's these 4 things. Okay, let's move forward here. Resume. I am going to do an entire extra hour on resume next week. So you will get the whole nuts and bolts, A to Z of everything. But this is just the highlighted things in this time of coronavirus crisis. What can you do? Tailor that resume. Make sure that that's looking good. You've proofread it, that all of the things are going into the direction that you want them to. Don't have any unnecessary material on there. Use the keywords from the job posting that you are looking at. So if you're shifting from one area that you were excited about, maybe you were going to go into hotel work, and now you're shifting over to healthcare, make sure that you're pulling in some more of those keywords and making sure that that looks like you're a viable candidate. You may want to create a section on skill-related accomplishments, okay? Here is an example of that. So this is somebody who was working their internship in a couple of different places, and I pulled out her actual accomplishments. So she was the associate of the month, and I broke it out by skill set, as you can see. We're highlighting customer service, communication, and sales. She was recognized as employee of the month. She has recorded and organized. She served on the improvement team. In her sales, she was promoted. She promoted the online marketing, and it resulted in a 15% increase. These are really big accomplishments. Those are things that you have gone above and beyond, and they are beyond just your basic duties to do the job. So this would be a section that I would put right underneath the education before I moved into the job descriptions. Okay, then I recommend that you have your resume reviewed and have it reviewed again and have it reviewed again. We have lots of opportunities in our office that you can make an appointment with us, and you can make an appointment with several of us. So take advantage of that if you want to have that resume reviewed. And so at this point, there is no excuses for grammar, spelling, or formatting errors. It's just not an option at this point when you have so much opportunity to make it perfect. Okay, I'm also doing another entire hour on interviewing. So this is just the top tips to stand out during this coronavirus crisis, right? The first thing you can do is build rapport with your interviewer. So you want to ask follow-up questions that are genuine and make sure that they're related to cultural fit, because this is how you build rapport. You're thinking, can I work with this person? Does this person like me? How can we become, good colleagues and friends through this process? And that's going to help you move forward in that interview process. Definitely demonstrate why you are unique, right? So you have to think about, how can I solve their problems? Make sure that you're listening to the things that are going on with the company and that you have been able to offer up areas that you can demonstrate how you can help this company. And then finally, explain how you'll deliver your value as soon as possible, right? So create a 30 or 60, 90-day plan. Make sure that you've shown that you've thought this out. Make sure that you've shown that you've done a little research along this, and they're going to be impressed. They're going to see oh, okay, this person's going to jump in. They're going to hit the ground running. They have little ramp up time. This is going to be fantastic, okay? And then finally, the Muse right here. They have a fantastic web advice on how to answer the most common interview questions. So again, the number one key to interview success is all about preparation. So that would be something that I would highly recommend, is that you go over and over and over and prepare your stories and get ready for those interviews. We do mock interviews with our office, so you can make an appointment and schedule that today. Okay, the next thing that you should be doing pretty well at, especially with the virtual, is the networking component, right? So you want to focus your language in your emails and your outreach. You want to make sure that you respond and craft it in a way that they will respond back to you. So it's very important to think about that when you are reaching out. You want to be gracious, you want to be empathetic, and you want to show collaboration. Again, remember that each person is dealing with the crisis differently, so don't get upset if somebody doesn't reach back out. Show empathy. I understand that you're super busy. I understand this is a crazy time. If you have a chance, would you be willing to meet with me for a 20-minute phone conversation? Anything like that. And then get creative. Is there a way you can have a virtual coffee with someone? Normally you would ask to meet at the Starbucks, but maybe there's a way that you can do it virtually. Maybe there's a way that you can create an appointment and have it more casual and a little bit more fun. Okay. I put this quote here because I feel like it's really important when you're thinking about networking in the big picture of life, right? So there's people that are networking for jobs, and there's people that are networking for relationships and for that big picture for the long term. Networking is really about paying it forward. There is very little that you get out of networking when it's constantly about your own agenda. So you want to keep that in mind as you're networking, because really that's when the true networks will engage and will come back to you and help you in the end. Okay, finally, LinkedIn is another area you have control over, okay? It's important that profile should be complete and attractive. You should have a professional headshot. Your headline should look great. Your summary should be fantastic. You can copy and paste over some of your bullets from your resume. That is all totally acceptable. I want you to know that this is an area, though, that you can focus on and have impact. Definitely try to get up to 500 connections or more. That's important because it gives you a little bit more exposure. Follow the organizations in your new area of interest. So if you've shifted your area of interest from one thing to education, let's start following the big leaders in the big organizations and the big associations related to education. If it's healthcare, let's do it for healthcare. If it's IT software, let's do it for that. Really just jump in and engage. It doesn't mean you can't make a shift later on, but right now, let's go, let's commit, and let's be all in. Stay active. Obviously, that's important on all things, but post and reshare. Connect with alumni. This would be a great place to set up informational interviews. If you're shifting into a new industry like healthcare, maybe you reach out to some administrative healthcare people and ask if you could do an informational interview. What is that, you say? It's actually having a conversation with somebody who's doing what you want to do. We have a handout on our webpage that will walk you through it and give you some example questions that you can ask. And then reconnect with your former supervisors, colleagues, professors, and peers. That's how you grow your network, but it's also how you can stay on top and see what everybody's doing. And maybe somebody's got a new job and they're hiring 10 more people. It's important to pay attention to those kinds of things. Okay, so last section, use your resources. This is my theory of low-hanging fruit, right? We don't have to make this harder than it has to be. There are so many things that are right in front of you that aren't being taken advantage of by the students at FGCU, that if they would just sort of engage, things don't have to be as hard as they think. So think about sales, think about teaching, think about the areas that are hot, think about going into retail in some areas. There's a lot of places that could really use your help. And again, this doesn't have to be a change for the rest of your life. It could be a change for a year or two, or maybe for 5 years, and you can always pivot back out and do something else or do what you originally thought. But in the meantime, you might fall in love with this new area of interest and this new route. You just never know. So I wanted to point out our CDS workshops and events. Some of you may have seen this because you're on this workshop now, but I want you to see we're doing the resume next Thursday, the interviewing the following Tuesday, so you can jump on those 2 workshops. You can also, I'm going to come down here, you can also book an appointment with a phone appointment with a career advisor, and they can walk through some of the specifics and the nuances with you. This is going to be obviously a little more general information, but this is going to be more specific to you. Then, as I mentioned also, we're having employer information sessions, Lee County, Scotland, Equitable Advisors, and Suncoast, all in the next 2 weeks. And these are going to be areas where they're going to talk more about their companies, they're going to talk more about their hiring, and they're going to talk more about tips for interviewing and succeeding in the interview at their companies. So really great areas to jump into and follow up on if you are looking for a new job and interested in any of these companies. I want to point out too that we do have the virtual career fair that is coming up April 22nd. We're partnering with the Florida ACE group, and you can jump into that virtual career fair as well on the 22nd. And then finally, we have opportunities for you to do mock interviews with actual employers. These are just a couple of the employers that have emailed us back and said, yes, 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 we want to be involved. And so we're doing that sort of on a match by match basis. So if you say, gosh, you know, I really would love to interview with the actual employer that could hire me, and or in that industry, I can get some tips, I can get some networking opportunity, reach out to us at the Career Center at fgcu.edu, because we will be doing hand-selected matches in the area that you're excited about, okay? Great ideas and virtual opportunities for you. Okay, then I just want to point out too, we also have a website full of handouts, downloads, things that you can jump into. We have a resume guide, we have an interviewing guide, we have everything under the sun on our website. So don't forget to look at all those resources. Then we've got Eagle Career Link. You do know that because you have, at the very least, logged your service learning hours in Eagle Career Link, but it's also our primary area to post our jobs and our internships. And so it's very important to know that we have ramped this up more than you can even imagine with our employers. So there's going to be more and more local jobs posted on Eagle Career Link. I encourage you to go there every couple of days to see what's new. Then we have an Eagle Mentor Program that not many people know about. It is through our Alumni Association, and it is a software program that connects students to local alumni or community members in a new area. So if you're shifting and pivoting industries, maybe this is a great program to jump into so that you can start talking to somebody in that industry. If you're thinking about manufacturing or you're thinking about IT services, maybe there's somebody in that database that you can just have a chat with, do a mock interview with, lots of different opportunities for a mentor interaction. There's also the Chamber of Commerce's, the Bonita, the Naples, the Bonita, and the Fort Myers Chamber of Commerce's are sort of the core area of the connectors. It's like the middle of a wheel, and all the spokes go out, and the chamber is the middle, and all the spokes are all the companies that work in the area, and they are the link because they're creating relationships with all these different businesses. So they're great sources of information, and to stay on top of them, they are really excited when students reach out or new graduates. So it's a wonderful place, and if you need some help reaching out to any of those, I'm happy to help you with those. And then if you're searching for an internship, or you're feeling behind in your internship, or this is about internships, I would really encourage you to reach out to your internship coordinator in your school. We have some wonderful people that are really working hard behind the scenes to make sure that you're trying to get good experiences, so make sure you connect with them. And sometimes they are being aware of remote internship roles that are going straight to the internship coordinator. This is an actual screenshot of you can go to candor.co, hiring freezes. It's for national employers. So if you're thinking, I want to go bigger, badder, and bolder than just Southwest Florida, although some are here. See, I screenshotted this because of Arthrex, and it says they are still hiring, which they are. They probably need summer internships canceled here. But I pulled this off a couple days ago, and this is just an ongoing list of people adding to it. So you can actually go to it and see the live additions to it. It's a pretty neat website, but if you're thinking big companies, you can kind of check in and see who's doing what and how. I'll put this on that resource page that I've been promising you. Okay, alternative. Here's something to think about. In this time that you are spending trying to figure out your next move, micro internships are a hot thing, right? So those are short-term project-based. So maybe they wouldn't say you're coming on for the semester, but they would say, why don't you come on to help us reorganize this and this and this project, and we'll hire you as an intern for that. So it's a very specific project-based kind of internship, very short, but it's a great opportunity for you to still get some great experience and get involved in these companies to expand your network in an area that you're excited about. So definitely, if you see that language on job postings, don't overlook it. It's something that you can even do post-graduation as well. And then there's the good old contract, freelance, and gig jobs, right? So some of you are saying, oh my goodness, I just need a real job. I want stability. I want to get out of my parents' house. But maybe some of you are saying, I'm actually okay here at my parents' house for a while. They're not making me pay rent. You know, I still want to stick to my guns and fight for my original ideas and maybe not go too far off of my original plan. So maybe I can do some contract work or freelance work. Here's a couple of websites that will help you in that direction. But that's a really great way to, again, get your foot in the door, meet some new people in the industry that you're excited about. And even though it's short term, a lot of times if you can make a good impression and then things change in the market, they hire you at the end. So I would definitely highly recommend that route if you can't find much else. And then of course there's good old graduate school, right? So here's 3 websites to help you kind of think through that. We also counsel heavily around graduate school. Graduate school is not your 5th year of higher ed. It is a whole new level of intensity and commitment. It takes a lot of time, energy, and money. So you want to make sure that you're going to get that return of investment after all of it's said and done. I recommend that if you are on the edge already about attending graduate school and this might be the right path for you, make an appointment with one of our career advisors so that we can really walk through that and help you guide you through that, because that will be important to make sure that you aren't coming out more in debt with a lower salary than you were expecting. You want to make sure you've done all the research around what the end goal is for graduate school and not just a hiding place during a bad economy. Okay, so moving forward, let's talk a little bit about wrapping this up and where are you going to go with all this. First of all, keep a very organized job search. You definitely want to consider some sort of a tracking spreadsheet because that will keep your mind in focus and you'll be able to know when new things are happening. When did I apply to that last time? When should I be following up? That's very important. Again, with that compassion and empathy and flexibility in mind, it's important to follow up to job opportunities that you've applied for because sometimes people are in just different time frames, and it's also okay to be proactive. I like to say positively aggressive about your own job search. So following up is important along with keeping a spreadsheet. Okay, next one. Focus on things you can control. Remember, we talked about that earlier. The things you can do. Don't focus on the things that you just have nothing to do with and no control over. This will help you stay focused. It will help you stay balanced, and it will give you that opportunity to feel like you are in control of the things you can control. Okay? It's definitely really important to practice gratitude and self-care. The gratitude about the fact that we have food and we have health and we have sunshine every day down here in Florida. These are some basics. Really, really go through some of those things that are the positives that are happening in your life instead of focusing on those negatives. So it's very important to make sure that you're taking care of yourself through this, because I can't tell you how many times I've been interviewing somebody and I can tell that their aura is sort of down and they're maybe not doing great. So definitely you need to sort of feed your body with physical good foods, but also with mental good foods, and think of it that way, because it will come out in an interview. You can only fake so much. And then be a leader. Is there a chance for you to inspire, motivate, or engage others? Is this an opportunity for you to really rise to the occasion? You see a whole bunch of stuff on social media and in the news about people, you know, really helping their community and their their neighbors and things like that. I'm not saying that that is the definition of being a leader, but I'm sure that you can find your own way of being a leader and really kind of, again, rising to the top of what do you want to take away from this experience? Is it going to be positive or is it going to be negative for you? And then there's always that increasing your skills. How can you be that lifelong learner, and how can you really take it up a notch? There are some wonderful courses at Coursera, Google Skillshop, Hootsuite, LinkedIn Learning, Khan Academy, Skillshare, TED Talks. There's tons of stuff. I'll put some of these links that I'm looking at on my notes on that resource page that I've been promising you. And those are some things that you can go in. Maybe you've always wanted to learn Photoshop and you just have never had time. Well, this would be a great time, and then you can throw that baby on your resume and you're good to go. So that's something to really think about, is how can you increase your skills and show employers that you've been busy during this sort of downtime sort of area. Okay, and then here's my final slide. And I mentioned this earlier. The word yet offers hope and possibility. I don't have an internship yet. I don't have a job yet. Opportunities will open up again and things will get better, and you will find internships and jobs. This is just kind of a bump in the road, maybe a big bump in the road for some of us, but it is just that. Things will change and move and get back to hiring again. Okay, so now I want to definitely open this up to questions. Let me take this one down. Okay. Let me open it up. I can actually, so hold on. Where is our chat? Okay. Okay, so if you guys want to chat some questions, I would appreciate that, because then I can answer it for the group. Let me know what's going on with you guys. Okay, so I'm seeing one. I've been wanting to learn Adobe programs. Does the school offer the program for free because I can't afford it? Ooh, that's a good question, Holly. I have no idea if the school offers that for free. That would be something that we could look into. Mary will have to record that so that we can see if that is something. I'm going to unmute Mary because Mary can. Hey, Mary, you're unmuted now, so you can answer. Do you know that answer?
I do not. I don't think they do, but I'll check into it.
Okay, fantastic. Great question, Holly. Okay, Savannah has one. What's the best way to follow up after submitting a job application? Fantastic one. Okay, so my general rule of thumb is after you've submitted a job application, wait a week, okay? If you haven't heard anything, if you haven't gotten an electronic reply immediately or anything, wait a week. Then at that week point, after 1 week, then go ahead and make a phone call and say to whoever you get, if you can get the recruiter or the hiring manager, say, hello, I'm calling about the status of my application, okay? That's a very neutral language to use, status of my application. So you're not saying, hi, I'm wondering why anybody hasn't called me, because nobody likes to hear that. Hi, you know, I don't like that. So you definitely want to think about the language. So what's the status of my application? Then they'll say, oh, well, hold on, what's your name? Oh, Savannah? Okay, let me look you up. So a lot of times then they'll note, maybe sometimes they'll note that you called. So that's a positive thing, that you followed up, because that means you're showing persistence and you're showing excitement about the position. So then they will probably give you some information at that point. And that's all you really are wanting at that point. So you're thinking, gosh, I just want some information. So the information that you're getting then is going to be something along the lines of, well, we haven't even started the process yet, or hey, we're reaching out to people right now, or actually we're going to keep it open for 3 more weeks. We won't let you know for another month. It's just all good information. So great question about follow-up, because follow-up is really important in this time. Okay, next I've got something from Cassie. What are some good job suggestions right now that offer social distancing? Work from home type gigs, right? Great question, Cassie. So I don't know what Cassie's major is, but the kinds of remote work that are being offered are things like, if you know social media, if you know how to do some customer service, sometimes they'll set you up for phone help. There's probably some training programs. If you have any IT experience, sales, there's still some sales going on online, because you can be making phone calls and reaching out to people depending on what that is. There can be writing kinds of remote work. So maybe you're editing content that's got to go out. You're helping with projects. So, I mean, really, we've all kind of taken our jobs remote right now. So it's really not something that you can't do. Just really pay attention to what are some of those entry-level starting jobs, and kind of move forward from there. Check that Eagle Career Link to see what you can do. We're trying to highlight on Eagle Career Link if it's remote. We're writing remote on there, kind of highlighting that. Okay, good question, Cassie. Ashrith, will the workshops be recorded? And I missed some of the presentation because I got disconnected. Yes, the workshops are being recorded, and this one I believe is being recorded, so we will possibly post that. But I'll keep you in touch, Ashrith. We'll go from there. Okay, Kenneth, in regards to skill learning sites, are there any of these sites free to use for students? That is a good question. There are, and I've got actually, what I'll do is, Kenneth, I will put on the resource page that I am putting together for you guys, because there are some, actually some free ones that I will collect. I'll do that. I'll put some free ones on there. Fantastic. Okay. Any other questions? I got a thank you from Cassie. Okay. All right, Cassie's saying, I think it's going to be a key that retailers adapt and offer more virtual contact-free shopping offers. Yes, what do you think the retail apparel environment will look like after this is over? Good question, Cassie. That is very interesting. I don't know, because people still like to go in and try clothes on, and others are perfectly happy having things sent to them. I think a lot of those box order, those monthly box order things like, I can't think of what those are called. Mary, you know, those where you get the clothes in the mail. I bet those will pick up because people will just want to do that kind of stuff. I think that that's going to be something that will be, will pick up, definitely, at least from some of the reading that I've seen, you know.
Cassie, this morning on the CBS News, they had a big story on retail and how it's going to be changing, and that they're all talking about that at the higher ups right now. It's like what it's going to look like in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Is that Bo drinking water, Mary?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
All right, everyone. Those that were in attendance, they will get the resource sheet. I think the only other person that, did you get a Bobby, Mary, that joined late? I think that was the only.
Yeah, I have a couple that, oh, what did I go?
I'm thinking, is Bobby Robert?
Karina Savannah Arthrid? I'm sorry if they're wrong, and Kenneth. Not sure how, since I don't know if someone gave you the link, but I don't have your information. If you could send an email to me, I'll type it down, and you can just, so I can get your email information for Rose to send you the resources.
Bobby, you might be under Robert. Okay, Robert, I got Bobby. And also Ashworth and any of those that we didn't get, if you want to get SOAR and 4 credit for joining this, we want to actually get you through our Eagle Career Links sign-up system. So that would be good. Okay, perfectly. Mary put her email there for everybody on the chat. All right, thanks, Holly, for coming. All right, fantastic. Thank you, everybody, and I appreciate your time. All right, I'm going to close this out.
Hey, Lexi.
Bye, Lexi. Let's see, how do I do this? How do I close it now? End meeting. All right, bye.
Bye.